Hello everybody, this is I am Subbalakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, St.Josephs Arts and Science College, Hosur. Sharpe'S ratio, and Sharpe'S ratio measures the performance of an investment such as security or a portfolio compared to a risk-free asset after adjusting for its risk. So Sharpe measures are measured performance of the investment. So how the investment is performing, it will be analyzed through Sharpe's ratio. And in the following slides, we will be seeing about what are the different Sharpe's ratios and and something about Sharpe's ratio. This slide speaks about the basics of Sharpe's ratio. So the Sharpe ratio adjusts the performance for the excess risk taken by an investor. However, the investor can measure if the investment aligns its requirements with the Sharpe's ratios. So, the excess of risk taken by the investor is analyzed by Sharpe ratio. Sharpe ratio is also used to carry out the performance of a particular share against the risk. So, what is the performance of a particular share? How the performance of a share is analyzed is that how far the share price is increasing or decreasing, in why the price is increasing and what level the price is increasing. All these things are analyzed using Sharpe's ratio. It can compare two different funds that possess the same risk or same return to help an investor understand how well he will be compensated. So it can comparison can be possible in this Sharpe's ratio. Sharpe ratio evaluates risk adjusted performance by dividing the excess return on a portfolio by a measure of its volatility. So it evaluates the risk adjusted performance. What is the risk and how it is adjusted towards the profit is analyzed through this Sharpe's ratio. And return above the risk-free rate of return or an industry benchmark are referred to as excess return. So what is this excess return? Is risk-free return. That is, up to a point in the share market, we may not having much risk, but when we prefer to trade above that point, there may be a risk. So this Sharpe ratio helps us to target or keep that benchmark where we can get a risk-free rate of return. And always we like risk-free return in any kind of an investment, right? The calculation may be based on historical return of forecast. Previously, what was the price? How the price have increased? The analysis will be based on this aspect. A higher Sharpe ratio is better when comparing to similar portfolio. There will be a higher Sharpe's ratios when it is compared to the portfolios. The Sharpe ratios has inherent weakness and may be overstated for some investment strategies. So it has inherent weaknesses and it will be overstated to some extent in the aspect. So these are the things in Sharpe's ratio. And this slide speaks about the formula for calculating the Sharpe's ratio. The formula is Sharpe ratio is equal to sigma p rp minus r, where rp is return of portfolio and rf is risk-free rate. And sigma p standard deviation of the portfolio's excess return. So this is the formula used for this kind of analysis. Importance of Sharpe's ratio. What are the different, or what is the importance for Sharpe ratio? Or analyze the fund's performance. What is the fund invested and how the fund is performing. Fund performance means what is the investment and what we are fetching from it. It's known as fund performance. So this Sharpe ratios help us to analyze the fund performance. and helps in fund comparisons. We can compare the funds and we can understand that, so this helps in fund comparisons. Investors can calculate risk factors. So investors also can calculate risk factors involved in it. What is this risk and how the risk can be included and can be calculated. Study the portfolio diversification. Previously we were seeing about this portfolio diversification, because portfolio diversification plays a important role in portfolio management. We cannot invest all our money into a particular sector or particular shares or security. Should have a diversification in our investment, and it will help us to maintain a good portfolio. And this Sharpe'S ratio help us to study this portfolio diversification. Examine the risk and return rate. So what is the risk and what is going to be the return? All these things are analyzed through this Sharpe'S ratio. So these are the different kinds of Sharpe'S ratio, and it's important for the Sharpe'S ratio. Limitations of Sharpe'S ratio. Sharpe'S ratio of a fund does not take any responsibility for managing the portfolio risk and does not reveal whether fund is dealing with single or multiple factors. So sometimes what happens is that it helps to manage the portfolio, but it will not take the risk of responsibility. Totally we cannot believe in managing the portfolio, because previously in the previous slide we were seeing that it helps to manage the portfolio, and suddenly when it comes to the next slide, when we speak that it will not take the responsibility, it is not an opposite idea, but it will not take the responsibility of risk. We cannot totally believe Sharpe'S ratio in managing the portfolios. It considered all the investments to have a normal pattern for dispersion of return, but funds may have different dispersion matters. So it considered all the investments. The portfolio managers influence the Sharpe'S ratio. They can try to boost their risk adjusted free returns by lengthening the time horizon for measuring the ratios. So the portfolio managers influences the Sharpe'S ratio to some extent. And Sharpe ratios is used to evaluate a mutual fund which is considered not a good strategy. So Sharpe'S ratio used to evaluate a mutual fund and which is considered not as a good strategy. So these are the limitations of Sharpe'S ratio. To conclude, ultimately using Sharpe'S ratio while keeping an eye on your investment horizon is always preferable. The Sharpe ratio typically shows the risk adjusted performance over the last 3 years. However, if you plan to invest for a long term, this ratio might not seem very important. So, Sharpe'S ratio, we understand things about Sharpe'S ratios in the slides. Hope you enjoyed my slides, and it's my pleasure to share my knowledge with you all. Thank you.